Welcome to another edition of Boulder Talk with AVC. I am your host, AVC, and we are here for one final edition of the year because basically we've run out of preseason content. And until the season gets started, there's nothing really to talk about left for the Boulders. But before we close out, we have one more episode. I sat down yesterday with Boulders head scout Kevin Tuve and had him on for an interview, and he was a great listen. So I'm going to play the interview here in a moment. Take a listen. Thank you guys all for the support on this channel over the year, and hopefully I'll see you again in the future. All right, so Kevin, thank you again so much for coming on to me with this today.
My pleasure. Anytime, anything I can do for you. I appreciate it.
So if I just start out with asking just an intro about yourself and your history with the Boulders.
So the Boulders I came to in 2012. I had been with the Pittsfield Colonials, which are now defunct, in 10 and 11. And I had a brief stint with the Seattle Mariners doing associate scout work back in 2012. And then I came July of 12 to the Boulders, and I've been there ever since. Here we are going into 21. So, yeah, so I've been there for a little while.
So what made you choose the Boulders?
Well, a couple of things. One, it was the hometown team. It's closer to me than Montclair. It was an opportunity that I wanted to get involved with back in 11 when they came into existence with Dave LaPointe running the show down there as manager. And it just didn't work out in 11. Dave had a lot going on. He just wasn't in the quite frame of mind to have anybody really help him out, look for players. He was just scrambling at the first year, and they had him doing a lot of other things. So for me, the Boulders were an obvious choice if I could get involved in any way. And they were nice enough to let me on in the summer of 12, my fault, summer of 12. And that's when I got to meet Dave and then really get my feet wet more in 13 when Jamie Keefe came, and I knew Jamie previously from Pittsfield. So it was a nice beginning back then.
So at this level, at the minor level, what are some of the responsibilities in the scouting department that people wouldn't necessarily think of?
So we at the Boulders, we run rookie invite workouts, 3 big ones every year, May, June, and July. So one of the things that is really rough for us, not rough, but is tough for us, is we don't have a whole lot of people in our scouting department. I rely a lot on interns. So I have young people learning a lot on the job. I have, and that's the nature of minor league baseball too. But right now I have 4 interns who are working on my June tryout as we speak. The May one is something I work on. So one of the things is creating a database for the manager, having enough options that of local guys and guys that are a little further away that could be help to the Boulders as we go forward into the season. So, you might run into a situation where you need an infielder and you don't have a whole lot of time to get one. Well, if you got guys that can drive there and can get you to maybe not the big solution, but can become a quick fix until you find someone more experienced, I think it's definitely a good thing. So we're really the only team that I know of that does that. Instead of the 1-day tryout, we don't usually do that. We do the 2-day invite for rookies, and we'll be doing that about a month from now. So that's the first thing coming up, and other responsibilities. We do scouting reports. We'll be using the program called iScore, and we'll be doing scouting reports for all the visiting teams, coming up. Now with the Frontier League, although this year is abbreviated, if you look at the schedule now that Ottawa and Three Rivers are not a part of it, but there is a Canadian team. You might have seen the province of Quebec. So the Quebec team and any other teams, Jersey, Sussex, Twins, Tri-Cities, and I want to say Lake County, and maybe Washington Wild things. Any other team that comes in will have scouting books for TJ and his assistant Cole Zimmerman, who will be using those hopefully for the game once we get to see enough of the visiting team, and there'll be heat charts, where tendencies are, what we threw to them, where they hit it, basic stuff. And we have two sabermetric guys this year, so they're going to be getting a little more involved with that, which is not really my big thing, but it is for the younger guys. As you know, that's such a part of the game now. So we need to have some of that for TJ as well, because these are MLB guys that are coming in, and so why not catch up with the times a little bit? So it'll be the first time we'll be really doing any of that as well.
That was my other question with moving into the Frontier League, and I had Seth on a little while ago, talked about now the age cap in the league. How does that change the scouting approach? Now you have a different crop of talent you're choosing from.
So it does make a difference. This year we actually have, this year and next year we've been grandfathered in, from my understanding, that we can have a more of a, how should I say, like over 27, an older league, or an older crop of guys to pick from. But as a whole, yeah, it's a younger league, much younger. So you're going to have a lot of the guys that you would look at in the Can-Am League, you're not even going to look at here. It's interesting because guys could kind of price themselves out as far as years go, and then their only way up is either going to be American Association or Atlantic League. And if they can't catch on there, they may have a problem. They may have to go somewhere else and play because, maybe Australia, maybe, Dominican Summer League. Somewhere else, I don't know, but I know that for us, it's going to change the landscape. You're exactly right. It's going to be a whole different. So the younger guys coming from college have more of an opportunity than guys coming from college into Can-Am 5 years ago. No doubt.
Now, these CrossFit players are mostly college guys who probably didn't get drafted by bigger organizations, or prospects that either faded out after their first year, this kind of thing.
Definitely. If you look at the league, there's double A guys getting signed. I know Pete Incaviglia up in Tri-Cities has signed some ex-big leaguers as well. So you're seeing a lot of A-ball guys. If you look at our roster, TJ has a mixture of guys, like you said, that most of his guys have some sort of affiliated pedigree. But it doesn't mean that a kid can't come in here a month from now and do something that we want to bring him to spring training. If it's up to TJ. I kind of put the ducks in front of him, and it's up to him to really, pick what he likes and what Cole likes. TJ is going to handle the pitchers as well, and Cole is going to handle. He's the hitting coach as well. So those two guys will really run the on the field stuff. I'll be there, but it'll be more of, what do you like, TJ? Here's the menu. You pick what you want. That's really how it's always been. I've never been hands-on too much. I try to stay. If they ask my opinion, sometimes I'll jump in, but the last thing I want to do is get involved with, and conflict with what the manager wants, because he's, at the end of the day, that's what he's paid for. And so I know my role, and that's fine. I like my role. So it's okay. There's no power struggle here or anything like that,
That's always nice to hear. So speaking of power, how's TJ as a manager? Obviously his first year managing the Boulders. How's TJ been so far with you?
TJ's been great. I got to know TJ, my God, when he was pitching for Quebec way back, but not too well, not as well as I know him now, but I knew him to say hi. And then when he took over the travel team, we talked more, which at the time was, I want to say, the Garden State Grays, but that's a long time ago, so I could be wrong about that, but it was the travel team. And then when he got into Three Rivers, we hung out a little bit when he came to town, and we talked. And now that he's here, he knew about our tryouts before he got here. He knew that we see a lot of players, and that was one of his first things he said: can we get the invite workouts back? It's been 2 years, and we did one for Kevin. We actually did 3 for Kevin Baez and Les Lancaster 2 years ago, and for Jamie Keefe and his staff the years before that. So I think TJ will fit well into this league because it's a younger man's league, and TJ, being a younger guy, has more energy, more patience than a lot of guys do. And he's an analytical guy too. He's more into a lot of the sabermetric stuff than people would think. He has a good background in it, and he's very patient, and he's well prepared. If there's one thing that I always know, and Jamie Keefe or Kevin Baez would tell you if they were here too, that his teams are always well managed, and he gets the most out of his roster. Him winning a championship up there is something that I thought was unbelievable because the lack of resources that he had,
So moving to resources. Again, with the first year in the Frontier League, what is the expectation with this roster? Like, this is a very new roster. I don't recognize basically anyone.
Yeah. I mean, other than maybe James Mulry, who's coming back, there's hardly anybody. Capra was here last year, the catcher, in the shortened season. I mean, what TJ's goal is, what he was telling me, actually, it's funny. We had this talk a few days ago, and one of the things that he's saying is he's big on being interchangeable parts. He'll get the most out of his roster because he has guys that can definitely play more than one position and do more than one thing. Um, he likes to steal. He likes to run. One of the things that you don't see in the big leagues now is stolen bases. It's gone. I mean, the art of the steal, as I'm sure you've seen this in the last couple of years. It's gone down, down, down.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing you say that because as we talked, TJ more of an analytics guy. Usually, stealing and bunting and all that kind of stuff that usually conflicts with all the analytic numbers and all that kind of stuff.
You would think, and it does, but I think it's funny because I think in the indie realm, I mean, TJ was always looking to run I mean, Jamie did too. Jamie Keefe, who's with High Point now, our old manager, he's in the Atlantic League, but that was one of his things. Everybody ran. I mean, everybody. He sent guys, and he went to the cross for that sometimes, but he still sent guys many times. Going forward here with TJ, he's going to do the same thing, and I agree with you. It is not typical of analytics guys. However, in indie ball, you don't have. We've always had a 22-man roster. I mean, now I think they're up to, I don't know, it's got to be 24, maybe something like this. And I should know that, but I don't even know that yet. But I can tell you that he will get the most out of his guys. And I think, and he's telling me about speed. He's telling me that he's very high on some of his base runners.
That was probably the next thing I was going to ask. Is there any particular players coming into this roster that we as fans should keep an eye on?
I'll say this: he hasn't declared who it's going to be, but he's got a couple outfielders. I would keep an eye on the outfielders. He's telling me about, if you know, and if you've ever been at Provident Bank, and I'm sure you have, and you've seen the Grand Canyon they call center field there. You have to have, you have to have somebody who could flat out, I mean, cover more real estate in a fast amount of time. It's not a normal center field in indie ball or in a minor league park. Plus you got that wall, and the wall's tricky because it doesn't always have a natural, like you can't always play the natural carom off the wall. It's a bizarre thing. And we've seen guys hit it. We've even seen one or two guys put it over, which is almost just an incredible feat to have a ball that high. But to get back to, I think the outfield, we've had some guys that can really, that have covered center field and since I've been here, and even going back to LaPointe's days. But I will say that he's telling me that he thinks a couple of those outfielders are going to be guys to watch. Don't know a whole lot about the infield yet. I've looked at the roster, but I've been so busy working on bringing extra guys for him to look at that I haven't really had time to sit down with him. He's done a lot of analysis and emailed us, in the front office, Sean Riley, myself, Seth, just what to take a look at and who's coming in and stuff. But I think he's excited about his pitching staff too. He's excited about his staff. I mean, you just don't know with the layoff last year, who's going to be able to carry innings this year. I'm very interested to see how that goes league wide.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we saw it even in professionals last year. Not only were guys pitching a lot less innings than normal, there were strains, injuries because of the quick return to play. It's going to be very interesting to see guys coming back off of this layoff where you haven't pitched in about really 9 months competitively.
Very. I mean, that's exactly what I've been thinking, because I don't know how many innings, as we know, starters in a normal ball game are not expected to go anywhere near like they used to. But at the same time, in indie ball is different, where you're not on a pitch count unless there's something that he sets up personally. These guys, you run them out there. So I mean, if a guy's going to give you 6 or 7 innings, man, I mean that's huge today. As far as last year, I wasn't involved with the 32-game recreational COVID type league they had, but I ran one tryout for them, but I wasn't involved in the day-to-day. But I can tell you that a lot of those issues they had last year was pitching. Guys hadn't pitched all spring. They were shut down in March. So once you got to July and August, I mean, they were going on fumes, I'm sure. And that's something that we have to take a look at too going forward. I'm sure some of these arms at the tryout, rookie wise, might be able to help out too if we need somebody, you know.
And one last other thing I wanted to talk to you about was possibly one of my favorite, might be my favorite Boulders player of all time, was Stephen Cardullo.
Yeah.
Was a really cool guy to see. And just what was it like recruiting him and bringing him into the team back then?
You know, Steven came in, he came in as an extra outfielder. So we didn't even think that in those days he came from the Frontier League, and we didn't really he was like an insurance policy. I remember talking to Jamie about that, and he told me I got some kid Cardullo coming in from, wherever he was, Florence or whatever team he was before in the Frontier League, and he came in and outworked and out hustled any expectations. I mean, we looked at him and we're like, who is this guy? I mean, he was out there. I mean, you remember seeing the effort. I mean, the guy never. I don't even know if he slept. I mean, this guy was 24/7. He was, worked. I mean, we would be done with a game. Guys are going home and he's in the cage hitting, and it was legit. I mean, there'd be nobody there and he was doing it. It wasn't like he was just trying to show up. He was legitimately dialed in.
All right, Kevin, thank you so much again for hopping on and giving me a few
Anytime.
minutes of your time here.
Andrew, anything I could do, please stay in touch. If there's anything I could do for you, if you come down, say hello. I'm usually behind the plate with the radar gun, so don't be bashful. And anything I could do for you, let me know. Appreciate it.
I will let you know. Thank you so much
Awesome.
again, Kevin. Good
Thanks,
luck
Matt.
this season. And that is going to do it here for our final edition, for what now at least, of Boulder Talk with AVC. Thanks again to Kevin Tuve for coming on. Thanks to Seth Cantor and all the people who came on for the Boulder Talk with AVC. Thank you to every person who watched, and I will see you all in the future. Go Boulders.